It's very great meeting and great environment. Actually, I just wanted to say, while I was just standing in front of this beautiful painting, that I just discovered that there was something in common with the paintings and my novel or my book. And it is like when I looked at this work a few times, I just discovered that Louise doesn't want just to portray the nature or portray what she sees outside her, but she wanted to go a bit beyond that. And that beyond, maybe I can put it in some way I can say it is the ideals of Plato, looking at another world that Plato considered as the reality or the real, and this world is the image. And I can find that one also with my novel, because I can see that the idea, or one of the themes of the Grand Master, or the Sufi Grand Master Ibn Arabi, wrote about is the idea of what he called the possibilities of existing. It's very difficult to translate from Arabic into any other language, but what he meant by possibilities of existing, actually it is the same in a different environment that we call it maybe the ideal or the form of Plato. And with these ideals, or with these possibilities of existing, which he thought that preceded the creation of universe, I took that idea and I played with it a little bit. And the way I played with this idea is that we have 3 levels of what you call it possibilities of existing. The first level was the level of the author, and through that person or through the author, he brought all these imagination or these ideas or these possibilities of existing into paper, and he wrote chapters and chapters on this world. And then the second expression of the possibilities of existing came through one of the characters who managed to write pieces of his novel, but unfortunately inside the novel, his novel was destroyed, and there was just one page of this novel that was left at the end of the novel. Then the third level of the possibilities of existing is what you call it, creating the universe. That's what Ibn Arabi talked about, how the possibilities of existing were materialized and became physical. So the idea is, by taking all these parts all together, I think I managed to put a kind of framework to express many themes that maybe kept coming all together in my imagination, in my thoughts, and how I can express maybe 50 years or more of the history of Iraq. Of course, this book also took me nearly 10 years. So you can imagine 10 years in a prison. So when I finished, when I discovered that the novel finished, I didn't know that it was finished at that time. I just escaped from home feeling free of prison for good. Not for good, for some time. I handed over to my friend Judy Cumberbatch, who was maybe tortured with me. I tortured her through the translation, because she kept giving me pages, and I said, no, it's not that way. I said, okay, let us try. And she was very patient. She would go and work. She go, what do you think? Is this present tense is better, or the past tense, or the past better? I said, no, you have to try it this way. And in Arabic, we have 3, present, past, future, but with the present, it could be past. With the past, it could be present. So it is moving in a quite different ways. And when you grasp it in English, it is really difficult experience. So I leave you to talk.
possibilities of being, of existence, in a way that the translator adds another level to that. Because what I'm doing is I'm taking Luay's creation and I'm breathing life into it again, or hoping to, or trying to. Luay, it says it took 10 years. The translation also took quite a long time. And then we put it aside. And several years later, I was in Poland, in a small town. I was a tourist. I was on a tour. And one of the things on the tour was a cemetery. And it was a mausoleum. It was the cult of death. It was quite horrible. And I was walking around it, and I suddenly thought, I've been here before. I hadn't been there, but I was reliving a whole character's fantasy from Luay's novel. I mean, that's how striking it is. And the interesting thing about translating is it's not your work, You're recreating someone else's characters and their story. But in the process, you become very, very close to those characters. You care about them tremendously, or you hate them. I don't know how many of you have read the novel or will not, but there's two monsters in this book, Abdul and the artist, and you hate them. But Beda, the character I am most fond of, I haven't worked on the book, I haven't looked at it for a long time until recently. But I feel terribly close to her, and I remember everything about her, and I was looking at the book again today, and crying again, and it's a very interesting process, the work of translation, because you have to convey. It's a huge responsibility. You have to convey somebody else's creation as well as you can. I don't know what else to say. It's a lovely book, really, really interesting. I mean, there are these wonderful characters, fantastic stories. Amazing, time between 1960s and the 1980s. You've got Iraq, you've got London. But there's also the emotion that runs through it and the characters. Very, 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 very moving. And then, of course, there's the whole intellectual thing. I learned so much when I was doing this book about Cézanne, about Satie, about Ibn Arabi, etc., etc., etc. But I recommend it. And the other nice thing about this book is that you can pick it up and put it down. There are little bits. But anyway, thanks, Luay, for giving me the opportunity.
Comment, or especially those who might have read the book and they want to say something. Anything?
Well, I must admit, I absolutely agree with you about Beda, that there's a feeling of the fear of her son and the love of it. You can really feel, and anyone who's had a first child who's either been in hospital or had some kind of experience, or you can really be on her side, and the anger towards the husband about is just absolutely, you can feel it, can't you? You feel like somebody's taken to the ground. So
he's a monster.
I think it's beautifully translated because you can feel that in the philosophical part of it, occasionally a food for thought before it goes into the actual story. I think it's beautifully done. So well done.
I think Luay, speaking as a woman, I think you write your women characters extremely sensitively. I think, in fact, that they're more credible than the men, or certainly you have more sympathy with.
Because in this book, for us as Londoners, it's you see it with different eyes, from a different perspective. I was wondering, can you say something about your choice of names, divine names? Why did you choose that title?
The original name of the book is Comedy of Divine Love.
Yeah,
and divine love is according to Ibn Arabi, is that God loved to know himself, so he created man to see or to reflect on his creation. So love is the reason for all these problems we have got, this creation and all these hassles that happen. So also the divine names in the novel, according to Ibn Arabi, is they met in a quite theatrical way with a delegation of possibilities of existing. So they met together a team, a delegation of the divine names, 99 names, and a delegation of possibilities. And possibilities of existing, they complain that, okay, why don't you give us just a chance to be real, and we can embody you, can represent you. Like if a name of the wise you can find, or the Revenger, all the names. So that after that meeting, they were agreed to start what we call it the metaphysical Big Bang, not the Stephen Hawking Big Bang. It is the metaphysical Big Bang, and that is the beginning. So one of friends, she suggested instead of putting comedy of divine love, maybe that is always referring to Dante's work. Divine names, maybe it is there, you can see it. So maybe I opted for that one with a bit of regret. Maybe I like comedy of divine love more than divine names.
Yeah, maybe one more thing, so lest anyone thinks it's sort of a highly intellectual book, I was also struck how sort of physical it was in a number of ways, and the description of situations, how the key actors felt about it, sort of highly emotional as well. So I really like the combination of the two, the bigger sort of intellectual theme, but then sort of the actual very graphic moments and the turbulences that came with it. So I think I like that.